Last item on individual is to consider the adoption of the 2024 budget of Mesa County and all its blended component units. Consider approving the resolution to appropriate sums of money for the 2024 budget year and consider approving the staffing level for 2024. We have Pam Noonan and Pete Baer to present. Good morning.
Morning. Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. It's our great pleasure to again present our annual budget. Couple things a little different this year. As mentioned by the chair, there's 3 resolutions shown this year. Typically there's 4, but we will not be levying property tax assessments during this process due to Senate Bill 23B001, the special session bill that came out. The time frame for the assessor to certify has been moved to January, and the time for the board to also adopt mill levies is January. So the budget includes estimated property tax based on Pam and finance working very closely with the assessor, trying to figure out what that impact would be. So first item we're going to start with is I'm going to just touch on some highlights from the budget letter, which is an annual letter put together by finance and myself that explains at high level, some of our budget components and what's going on. So first, the total county budget overall is $261.1 million this year. That's about 7.6% increase from the 2023 adopted. When we take out the interfund transfers and charges, that's about $234.2 million. And that's typically what pays for our general services and other components in that. So, and this budget represents our plan from January 1st through December 31st for 2024. Here's where we get into the good stuff. So the budget, last year, we adopted a new strategic plan. And we have been integrating that strategic plan, in particular our strategic initiatives of build the best team, build a culture of excellence, build community together, and build fiscal stability into our strategic initiatives into our budget, and asking the departments to show how, when they submit their request, how they fit into those goals. So this budget, and then we also set up, as the board's well aware, but for the audience, a budget review team made up of many folks from around the county for various departments, so that we have input from electeds and department heads and all the groups that things. So they were charged with reviewing and evaluating and making recommendations based on the amount of resources available and the requests that came in. Those, again, were all run by the board in a second process, and we'll talk about that, the appeal process and the change to the proposed budget, which, again, the proposed budget was adopted October 10th to the final budget, adopted budget as known, we're talking about here. So with that in mind, some of the key components that we did under Build the Best Team, and again, we've adopted what's known as Team Mesa here. And I've actually received a lot of good feedback from folks on that it's breaking down barriers, letting people discuss many processes across departments that may not have been discussed before, and opening up a lot of things. So it was a great strategic initiative by the board that is being placed and put into place and worked through. To that end, we're including in this budget $3.2 million increase in total compensation. That works out to about a 5% increase across the board for employees. That is independent of the sheriff's office. They do something a little differently at a different time frame. And we've asked, there's just a minimal change in employee health insurance premiums. So again, by helping our employees out, building the best team and compensating it and trying to keep health insurance costs. By the way, I should say from our HR folks, and our folks that work on our health insurance, they've done a tremendous job. We've got one of the better ones at one of the better costs that I've seen. So very proud of that. In Build a Culture of Excellence, this first one to me is a key foundational component, and that's our new finance software. We are negotiating with a final vendor and hope to have that implemented moving in next year. It's my belief that this software is going to not only put a lot of efficiencies into the county, because right now we have various software where HR uses one piece and has to load to finance, and we have to tie it to other components, and our budget module is different, to where we'll see a lot of efficiencies. Not only that, the newer softwares, as we saw with opening up, allow for a lot more transparency for the community so that they can see on our website consistently what we're doing and where we're after it. And we've also talked about obviously having a AP or a payment process module on a monthly basis shown there so folks can see that. So the budget includes 14 positions. It's actually not 14, but I don't like to split people. It's 13.4. But basically, there's 2 new ones for the sheriff, that the community impact team, dedicated behavioral health, and we'll talk a little more detail on behavioral health. It's a new department that's really taking off. 2 additional for the DA's office, 1 victim restitution and 1 trial deputy. I should mention both those have grant funds that are tied to them, as most all these do. The 2 at the sheriff's office do too. 1 new position in weed and pests that will actually, what it will do is free up our position. So the Japanese beetle is a project that we've taken on to try to eradicate, and this gives us that additional resources to help us get a little better handle and the amount of work that it takes to do that. Public health is 2. 1 of them is for a clinician and the other is for environmental health. There's 1 new position recommended in the Department of Human Services dedicated to child welfare parenting time. And lastly, 6 new positions, not quite 6, it's 5.4, I believe it is. Yeah, again, not wanting to split people in parts. Earmarked facilities and parks, and again, that's for a lot of the new buildings and components and pieces that the board has put in place, a lot with our ARPA dollars that we had, and bringing those back to the community. Under Build Community Together, as just mentioned, we're expecting the Clifton Community Campus to reach completion in late spring of 2024. Of course, that is centered around early childhood education, workforce training, and also a community center. As mentioned, new behavioral health, the health department, behavioral health was rolled under admin and is now shown as a separate department under admin in the org chart. They are serving they're still trying to hire a number of positions, but even with what we have and with the MAC clients, they've got 149 clients that they're actually serving and slated to serve up to 300. And I should say there's 300 plus 330, I believe it was, referrals. And of that, about half or so, 149, have chosen to come in and work with either a counselor or a mentor or our various things. And we've done this by building up our agencies, what we call a MAC agency, a multiple collaboration agency, with additional resources and support to build through this. So this is a great program. There's been some press on it. I suspect that we will continue to see a lot more. And it's really the community, in particular in the behavioral health, mental health component, is really gravitating towards this, and our law enforcement has jumped on this, and we're seeing some great things. So we'll continue construction on the Beck Community Hall, and as mentioned previously, we have funding in here to continue eradication of the Japanese beetle. And then one of the things we have done also is just last week, I believe it was, we signed a contract with Region 10, which is a group that knows how to get broadband in and puts the right switches and such, and works with CDOT to help our private providers. We've been working hard with our private providers, trying to figure out what do they need to provide broadband across our communities, and that seemed to be our best thing. So under Build Fiscal Stability, that leaves us at the end of fiscal year 24 per this plan, about 22.5 million, about 2.5 months of expenses. Economic revenue and outlook, I won't go through all this, but suffice to say, we're all seeing, even this morning, a new sales tax report came out. It's up about 1.5%. It's slowed from our real growth years, but we're happy to see what we're seeing, but we do believe there's on the horizon with the tightening of interest rates that we will see a slowdown. So this anticipates that there will be a slowdown based on that. Again, conservative on the sales tax increase. We typically budget what we believe we're going to collect for this year. So we're not really budgeting an increase. We are budgeting an increase from what was adopted last year because it's up slightly this year, but we adopt sales tax based on what our estimate is. So this is the one I mentioned about Senate Bill 23B001. We're revenue are projected approximately 30 million. And I know Pam's been working furiously with the assessor's office to try to get a feel. That will get trued up in January. And then the statute and bill itself, the bill itself allows us to come back at a supplemental appropriation and true that up because they knew they were messing with one of the major revenue sources. And at the same time, we're still adopting a budget. We are still under TABOR, so that is something that we're cognizant of as we prepare the budget and the various refunds that can come from that. Then just a kind of a reminder that 30 different funds, 31 departments and functions, meaning also our PIDs, LIDs, and various other components, and 7 elected offices. So the general fund budget, which the majority of the services that the residency comes out of for 2024 is 91 million. It's a 15% increase from the 2023 adopted, and we'll get into more detail on that. The CIP program, we've been able to do a huge amount with the CIP program. This again, as the board's well aware, and again for education of the public, there's a 1 cent sales, there's a 2 cent county sales tax. Some of it gets shared back with the cities, some goes to our general fund, but 1 cent goes to capital projects. And in addition to that, the ARPA funds that we received has allowed us to really go out into these communities and provide a lot of great projects. I'm really proud of the projects we're providing. They're leaps and bounds above for community service of anything we've been able to do. And it was a great board decision to turn around and get those out in the community very quickly with the Clifton campus and Tibet Community Hall and various other projects. Speaking of the ARPA dollars, we received 29.9. The vast majority of those are encumbered, and we have no doubt by the end of 2024 that I believe we have about 750,000 left, 700,000 left. We will have that. We'll work with the board and determine the best place to put those dollars. As mentioned, the 14 new positions, again, not cutting people across 7 departments, a little bit over a 1% increase when you look at the fact that we have about 1,225, 1,230 employees. So again, just in conclusion, we're investing in our strategic priorities. We're making sure that we work hard for that. I know on my slide that will follow, I have actually a follow-up on our budget review team and the process there, so I'll leave that out. And again, this budget, we believe, it will make us continue to serve our residents. I'm proud of the work Team Mesa does every day. It is an understatement, in my opinion, of what we're able to do with that. So with that, I can stop and ask questions here. Or...
I just have one question. Can you remind us of the 14 FTEs we're adding? I know some of those, if not at least half of them, are funded by sources other than county taxes. Can you remind me which FTEs are being paid for through grants?
Pam, do you want to?
Yes. So the district attorney's office has 2 positions. One is fully funded with a grant, and that is the trial deputy. The other one is 75% funded with the grant, and then as the victim services restitution coordinator. The other 2 in the sheriff's department are related to behavioral health, and they are 100% funded by a grant.
Perfect. Thank you. Do either of you have any questions? Does anyone in the audience have any questions on this item? Do you have any comments to make about the budget?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Actually, I do have one more presentation real quickly, just a quick PowerPoint. And that guy. So this is very quick, and we'll just go through it. Again, it touches on our strategic plan and the components. It does mention something in addition. We are the 4.4 million, which is in this year's, but we're implementing the Justice Center project, and we have included in the capital for out years additional work there to provide a courtroom. So I think that's important to point out. This is changes from proposed to adopted. The one thing you will see that jumps out to me is obviously our property tax revenue under the new bill. We're anticipating it'll be down about 1.5 in the general fund and 291,000 in other funds. Again, this is an estimate at this point. It'll be trued up at a later date. The board was very involved in the appeals, so we had the various appeals that were awarded. Some of those come with revenue, some do not. And we also had a savings on our estimated cost for health insurance for the general fund, savings of $154,000. So this again, just high level, but it shows our 2023 adopted to 2024 adopted, revenues and expenditures. Revenues are up, but expenditures are also up. It shows in 2023 our 16.7. We're now looking at drawing down a little more, 20.4. Part of that is due to the additional funding we received for tribal assistance. I'm going to get the terminology wrong, but the board's well aware of the funding we had for that. General fund, we're looking at revenues of $87.9 million and expenditures of $91.1 million. Leaves us a $3.2 million deficit. Starting off with a budget balance of 25.6, that puts us at 22.5 million at the end of the year. Again, the changes in revenue about 4.9% and 15% in expenditures. This is where the board, as part of the process, heard appeals and looked at the budget and trued it up to the values that they're looking for, in addition to from the adopted or the proposed budget. I'm sorry. And this is what we came out with between the two. We have 5.6 FTE in facilities and park, 2 additional in the sheriff, 2 additional in the district attorney, 1 additional in human services, 2 in public health, and 0.8 in weed and pests. The capital improvement program, we have a very healthy capital improvement program planned for next year with expenditures of $63.3 million. As you'll notice, there's a pretty large beginning balance. That's because projects don't stop at December 31st. They carry over. They bring their expenses and balance with them. We're anticipating $49.6 million in revenue. The majority of that is the sales tax. Some of that is grants and other transfers. We are proposing to run through this. I do believe actually the ending balance, I believe, is off. It should be 2.5 million, or is it 3.2? I am okay. Seen too many numbers over the last week. But let's talk about some of the major projects that we can build. GBT Fleet Maintenance Facility, large chunk of federal and state grants to build that. The Justice Center renovation we talked about, and that's a complete project to open up the Justice Center to the function it was originally built for, which is courts, move some of those out to MCCS and allow us to continue to serve the community, in particular from the justice standpoint going in there. So 32.5 road improvement is a great road improvement needed. It's in the Clifton area. It comes north from our campus through the first phase, and then they have another phase planned in looking at that. Orchard Avenue has been on the books for a long time, I believe, and I know I have Scott Mayer. If I get this wrong, you could yell, but from roughly 31 Road all the way out to Central High School, at completing that section, which is sorely needed. Where we have money in here to design our campus known as Faith Heights at 628 1/4 Road. And we have money here, obviously, to complete Clifton Campus and Tibet Community Hall. Those are just some of the high-level ones. The board is aware and has seen, and we share the capital project, and we've taken input from the board on where to put those funds that we're entrusted with from the community to work there. So really, that's the conclusion of the presentation. We believe the budget sets forth a plan investing strategic priorities while still protecting fiscal health. Storm clouds building on the horizon, we know that, but that's we will keep a close eye on that. Like to thank the budget review team. They went above and beyond their regular duties and helped us with this. And Pam Noonan, can't say enough about Pam. The board's well aware. Spencer Rockwell, who was our budget manager, moved on, and he did an amazing job while he was here. But as moving on, a lot of that work fell to Pam, and I must mention Alec Anderson here. He wasn't part of the budget review team, but he's really helped in getting this together. Connie Hahn goes without saying, is somebody that knows the public works budget and thing backwards and forward, and is not afraid to ask the hard questions. How's that? Todd did an amazing job also of keeping us on tracking and moving us forward. Matt King, the undersheriff, represented the sheriff's office, and Brenda Moore, our HR manager, Kim Manzanares, Melissa Solivar, and Miranda Wilson, and of course Spencer, were our budget review team. So pretty comprehensive, representing a lot of different groups and electeds. And then basically, we are proud to continue serving our residents and proud of the work Team Mesa does. So again, we believe this budget accomplishes those goals and it keeps us within our means that we need to have. So thank you, Madam Chair and Board.
Any comments or questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay. Our Mesa County budget process was developed really through thoughtful engagement with our elected office partners, department heads, county admin, and finance to bring together core elements of Team Mesa. This was my first budget process, so it was very interesting, and I'm really thankful to work with each and every one of you. We were valuing our 1,200 plus exceptional employees who every day deliver critical local government services and infrastructure to our residents as a priority. But we're also forecasting the most up-to-date economic data, and that includes, in fact, factoring in inflationary pressures, where a dollar doesn't go as far as it once did, and the increasing costs of infrastructure, supply and demand challenges, and also being really responsive to federal monetary policy that really has yet to settle. All of this to say we had to plan accordingly, and that means tightening our budgets, which is very much reflected in what we have today. The priorities of putting together infrastructure, road and bridge, broadband, agriculture, capital improvement projects, along with our Justice Center, and our employee investments were definitely a priority reflected in this budget. I could not be more proud of Team Mesa for coming together to collaborate in a really meaningful way and have successful conversations to put the residents of Mesa County first. Thank you to each Team Mesa employee, the budget review team, Pam and Spencer, our finance team, Pete, Todd, Alec, our admin team, and all of our elected officials and department heads. This really was a team effort, and it was really thoughtful. It's worth mentioning the amount of grants, congressional direct grants, infrastructure grants, and the generous grants from our community partners that really help the mental health program and our public safety come together. All of these grants, they create a diverse and in-depth maximum output that our residents can see real results. Our dollars can go farther, and I think that has a meaningful impact for our residents. And I'm grateful for those partnerships and the work of Team Mesa. We have a budget that reflects the economic realities of the day. It saves for a rainy day, but it also builds on a lot of efficiencies. And this truly delivers for Mesa County residents core infrastructures of local government. And I truly could not be more proud to be part of this process. Thank you.
To echo some of those things, first of all, I think a lot of people think the budget comes together in the last week and we do it in the back room and there's no process to it, but it started well over 5, close to 6 months ago, and it's a long process. And if I didn't have help, sometimes reading this budget, I feel like a knuckle-dragging mongoloid, but if I didn't have the help of staff who make this simple and easy to understand, I don't think we or the community would understand the budget, but we're committed to transparency, and so we try to make this as simple as possible. And I think at the end of the day, budgets are priorities. I have a lot of people ask me, what are your priorities for the community? I said, well, read our budget, because where you put your money is your priority. And this year we've, and I won't go into too much detail because Commissioner Daniel listed a lot of it, but there's investments in our team here at Team Mesa with increases in salaries and benefits, and taking off the edge from increased insurance premiums that would have most likely been passed through, but the county is going ahead and taking those on. Investments, strategic investments to make our county dollars more effective and go farther. And you've seen those in behavioral health investments, technologies, and so forth. And we're going to invest even more in technologies going forward. Also investments in public infrastructure. I mean, part of our strategic plan and vision for the future is investment in infrastructure so that people can live the best life here. And that's investments in sewer, broadband, transportation, the Justice Center, with the anticipation of new judges coming. We need to expand the Justice Center and make sure we can house them. The faster someone can get a hearing means the faster they're out of jail and back to work. And that saves everybody time, money, and mental health. And then finally, just the investment that we're continuing to do in our community from the Quebec Community Hall, which is, we're swinging steel right now, and then the Clifton Community Hall, which is projected to be done in May. So at the end of the day, a budget is the priorities of the elected officials and the community, and that's what I see it as. So thank you. Great job, staff.
Thank you. I would echo what both of you said. I think it's important to invest in our staff. While they shouldn't be the best paid in the community, they shouldn't be the least paid either. If we expect the public to have quality experiences when they interact with us, we need to pay our staff what they deserve and be competitive. Looking at the culture of excellence, I do think the software is going to be a great addition. Not only is it going to streamline things across departments and save staff time, but the features are going to allow for more transparency, and that's certainly a priority of this board. In building community together, I love seeing the community centers going up into Beck and Clifton, anxious to see that also in Whitewater and the Mac Loma area. And in particular, I think the part of building community together, what we're doing in behavioral health is very exciting. It will now be its own department. Since it serves various other departments in the county, it didn't seem to fit under one single department. So I'm excited to see that. And although we serve 149 MAC clients, there are many, many others that are served through co-response that go unnumbered that are really receiving the help they need rather than being immediately taken to jail. Building fiscal stability, a fund balance of $24 million is very solid, and I appreciate that you and the rest of the staff were able to give us a budget that allowed for that. And then just the capital expenditures, I will say a little bit more about the Justice Center focus. Our chief judge doesn't have a courtroom. He's all virtual, which means he can't take all of the same cases that the other judges can. And with the backlog that was created with COVID, for the criminal cases, and criminal cases take priority over civil cases such as divorces. It's really been hard to catch up. So investing in funds to give our chief judge a courtroom and then ultimately a second courtroom for a new judge is important. I'm hearing some divorce cases are taking 1.5 to 2 years, and no one should have to wait that long to have that part of their life settled. So I really I'm glad to invest in the Justice Center and then the road improvements to see so many improvements, including sidewalks and other safety features. It's critical. Road projects aren't always sexy, and people may not even notice when they're done, but they sure notice when they're not done. So we appreciate you guys investing in that. And I have no other comments. Does anyone in the audience have any comments on the budget before we bring it to a vote? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve item 6 with all its resolutions as entered into the record.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0.